JX is already in the pose. Look at that. He's ready to go. He's ready to go for some Superman 2. Good evening, everyone. I am Chris, joined once again with the Man of Steel himself, JX Editor, right there. Wait, where did JX Editor go?
Why did I just do the Vulcan thing for the comrade? Because you called me the Man of Steel, which was Stalin's nickname.
We're continuing our, well, I guess, which has become a Superman retrospective. Week 2, which means Superman 2. Which version of Superman 2, I hear you ask? Well, we'll be dipping in and out of both of them. We've watched both cuts.
I watched them back-to-back today.
I feel like our review is just going to sort of merge this into what is in our mind the perfect cut of Superman 2.
The better cut that lives between these two.
Yeah. And it does. And there is a perfect cut. I want to do
that other thing instead of... That's why I had that idea for, like, maybe we should talk about that other thing instead of potentially the other thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right, Superman 2. Just when you think that modern Warner Brothers doesn't have a clue what they're doing with their movie, you know, various directors being shuffling around, whether it's the Zack Snyder Justice League movie, reportedly, whether it's the James Gunn Superman movie that's coming out in a few weeks' time. No, this stems back all the way back to 1980 with Superman 2 and the very incredibly turbulent and troubled production that it was. It's a fascinating read when you dive into it. Where, like, I think the theatrical cut result of this is pretty damn good considering everything that they had to contend with to even get that product out. Suffice it to say, this is a much better theatrical product than Joss Whedon's Justice League was.
Oh yeah.
It's a much better movie than that, even in its theatrical standpoint. But yeah, and then many years later, 2006, that would have been right around the time, probably with Superman Returns hype, I would imagine. Superman was back on the big screen, so Richard Donner got another shot, and we had the Richard Donner cut, which is a very misleading title because it's as close to the Richard Donner version as you're likely to get. It's not 100%. Because he didn't film 100%.
He only filmed like 75% of it. Yeah. Like by the time he was kicked off the project, he was running out of money. He needed pickups, and they're like, okay, finish the first one. Don't end it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So things got shuffled around. The ending. Yeah. The ending of Superman 2 with the whole world being turned back got moved back to movie 1. Things got shuffled around. Actors didn't want to return because they were loyal to Richard Donner and contractually obligated. They'd already fulfilled all of their contractual needs, didn't want to come back for reshoots. Marlon Brando was kicking off about him not being given money because he had like an 11.9% of the box office gross or something of the first movie.
Brando.
Which he claimed that he didn't receive, so he sued Warner Brothers for an absolutely outrageous amount of money. Then when they were talking about using his footage in Superman 2, the rumor mill is that the reason that he was cut out of the theatrical version was because they would have had to have paid him another 11.9% of the gross of that movie as well. So that was almost certainly one of the reasons for his departure from the theatrical version, at least. This movie is kind of all over the place, so I don't know if we're going to address both cuts individually or if we're going to sort of do a comparison between the two and then sort of fall in between of which one we prefer overall, maybe, and the perfect cut that exists between the two versions. Can you remember the first time that you saw Superman 2? Or did you like this one more so than the first one when you first saw it, or where was your head at with this movie?
So, like I said last week, my experience with the Christopher Reeve movies early on were fairly limited. I didn't really get into them until much later. I mean, I didn't really appreciate Superman as a character until I had kind of matured out of my, well, I say matured out of my edginess, but I'm sure I'm sure I'm still fucking around somewhere. But as far as first time really seeing this, it was probably actually a fan edited cut between the two.
Of which there
Because
are many. Many have been produced with
yes,
the Superman edits,
yeah,
yeah. For me,
yeah, no, because it was on Firemark.
mhm. I think I mentioned this last week. I was really late to the party with Superman. We kind of discussed our opinions on the Superman character, and I was very much a late bloomer to the character. I compared it to the same
Yeah.
situation as Captain America. It took me a long time to come around to the whole Boy Scout image, but once it clicked and I got it, I loved it. And now Superman's easily, he is the original. I'd say Superman and Batman are the pillars of above which every other superhero is on top of. I think every time a new Superman film or Batman film comes out, it does immediately capture my attention. For good or bad, a lot of them are bad, but it commands that certain presence to it. And I think it does have that legacy and history to it. So, first time watching Superman 2, it was probably shortly after watching Superman 1 for the first time. And I think, well, I'm pretty sure based on that, that's where I ended my little Superman retrospective at the time. And as of this recording, I still haven't watched Superman 3 and Superman 4.
It's gonna
I
be a
will be next
fun
week.
couple weeks.
They have been ordered. I've ordered a job lot DVD. I've got Superman 3, Quest for Peace, and Supergirl all on the way. I don't even know if we're talking about Supergirl. We might do, but I've got the DVD there in case we need it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a discussion after the stream, and I imagine you'll probably put out a poll with some options.
Mm. Now, Superman.
I think it's safe to say you'll put out a poll with 2 options, possibly 3.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. We'll put it to the vote because I love democracy. So yeah, we'll see where the chips fall on that one. With Superman 2, the first time I watched it, I'm pretty sure I had no knowledge of the whole hullabaloo with the behind the scenes of this. Probably
I imagine you didn't.
I didn't even realize there were the 2 cuts available out there. I will say as well, just it's pretty cool now. I guess more films have started doing it. You have various extended editions of films that are released and whatnot, but a complete retooling that's released on home video, that's rarer. That's much, much rarer.
That was quite rare. Yeah, no, this wasn't an era of like directors cuts that like have you seen the opening of the Gladiator director's cut?
I have the Gladiator director's cut. Yes, I'm pretty sure I have. And the same with Kingdom of Heaven as well. How you have the is it like a little
the
intro?
Kingdom of Heaven director's cut is genuinely better. But the
Yes.
thing about the Gladiator director's cut, I'm pretty sure it starts with Ridley Scott saying, "Hi, I'm the director Ridley Scott." This
Yeah.
is not the director's cut of Gladiator. The director's cut, the director's cut released in theaters. This is a cut that was extended with scenes the director purposefully cut out because I didn't think the film needed it, but the studio wanted to release something new.
He's an absolute blast in interviews. Have you seen some of the latest shit that he's been saying about his Alien films that he made?
I have not.
God, dude is just so oblivious. He was like, I think I'm done with Alien now. He says, I made the first Alien film and I thought it was pretty good. And then James Cameron did his thing and I thought, wow, this franchise can stand toe to toe with like Star Trek and Star Wars. He says, I feel like the franchise kind of died with the 4th one, but then I wrote Prometheus. I'm like, he didn't write it, actually. He only directed it. He had no writing credit on that film. And he was like, and that was really good. And I like what we did with that. And then I came back for Covenant, and I thought that was also really good. And we did great things with that. I'm like, Prometheus and Alien Covenant especially were not good movies by any stretch of the imagination. What's even more confusing...
But I also like old Halo.
What's really confusing is, like you mentioned, that the one that was released, you're talking about Gladiator, the one that was released in cinemas was what he considered the director's cut, and then the DVD was an extended one. That gets really confusing when you're talking about Kingdom of Heaven, because there's a theatrical cut, a director's cut, and an ultimate cut, which is this one here, which has like intermission in there and various...
Doesn't that one have like the roadshow audio thing?
Something like that. I don't know. So... various different cuts.
Yeah,
I mean, you do get
the director's cut is the way to go.
You do get director's cuts, but this was, in the case of Superman 2 with the Donner cut, is a complete retooling. Well, almost complete retooling. It does feel like you're watching a different movie up until a certain point. I'd say definitely the first act feels like you're watching a very different film. And then it just kind of goes into more of what you'd expect from the Leicester cut. Let's jump into where do we want to start with this one then? Because this is, do we just talk about the different directing style? Okay, yeah, I guess we can start with the opening scene.
Uncle Vernon
so
is a Russian terrorist.
Well, we open with a very, very truncated retelling of the first movie to a point because, Marlon Brando can't be in this movie. So we need to retcon it a little bit, but also still catch the audience up because I think home video worked very, very differently back in the day. Now shit's on streaming within a week of it coming out in the cinema, it feels like. But it's a similar thing with the Rocky films, how if you're doing a Rocky marathon, the first 10 minutes of each Rocky film from Rocky 2 onwards is just a recap of the ending of the previous movie. So if you do a marathon, you could just skip that shit. And that's what it feels like this is. You have your...
Did Creed do that?
No, I don't believe so.
Good.
But most of the Rocky movies do. The first 5 do, at least, anyway. Yeah, so with this one, you have your big... Well, John Williams theme, but Ken Thorne does the soundtrack to this one. And over the top of that, it's just an extended clip show of basically the first film, in case you missed it, and it catches you up to speed. I don't mind when films do that because it does ease you in, but it is frustrating when you are watching these in close proximity to each other. It's just like, okay, I know this. I watched the first movie. Let's get to the sequel. Reminds me of Evil Dead. Like Evil Dead 2, how it's sort of a recap of the first
comparison. Although the thing is, it doesn't give you like a clip show. It gives you just a whole new summary. Like the whole first movie is like the first 20 minutes of Evil Dead 2. And although you do get the clip show summary in Army of Darkness, or as I like to call it, the Medieval Dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each one, well, Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 3 twists the ending a little bit to fit its own purposes, doesn't it? And I don't mind that. There's that loose continuity with that. This one's a little bit more frustrating because the opening of Krypton in Superman the movie is incredible. And we spend a lot of time with that, developing that world. That is essentially your first act of your film. We know how that went down, and they have a similar set to it, but I think in the theatrical cut you see Non try and steal this like red crystal, doesn't he? And then he gets busted, and then immediately gets imprisoned in the little revolving hula hoop thing.
That's gotta be like a representation of something. That cannot be what actually happened. Like we have to be seeing like that can't be that can't be the actual order of events.
No, because they're immediately in like the judicial building and in that court scenario. Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's just a truncated version, isn't it? It's like, this is General Zod, he's our main villain, and then there's also Ursa and Non, and they're here. What do the judges face? It's like, guilty. And I was like, wait a minute, Marlon Brando was in this whole scenario in the previous movie. I get it. I get that they were between a rock and a hard place and they had to shoot around it. And I don't really mind it. As I say, like, I'm fine with stuff like Evil Dead, where it gets you up to speed. It gets the same information across. It is frustrating from a continuity perspective if you're an absolute stickler for that first Superman movie, though, going into this one. Let's talk very, very quickly about the music. I'll be circling back to certain points in the movie between the Donner and the Leicester cut. A much more pared down orchestra, I think that's fair to say. It doesn't have the same bombastic quality and the same fullness and richness of sound as the John Williams score. That being said, I really like Ken Thorne's soundtrack with this. He used a lot of themes from John Williams. There was very little original material in this, but I love his arrangements, especially during the Niagara Falls scene where he saves the kid. It's a great moment where you see Superman flying down and you get the Superman march. Much better than the Donner cut version.
Purpose with this one.
Yes, it's just the sound. It's just the sound of the orchestra is not quite there, which is a bit of a shame. Yes, yeah. It feels like going to see an orchestral performance, and you got like the London Philharmonic Orchestra at the Royal Albert Hall, and then you go and see like a village brass band playing that song. It's still good, and they're still good musicians, but it's not that Superman. It's fine though. I do like a number of the
I do wonder if in this day and age of artificial intelligence creating, you know, audio and visuals and so on. I mean, the same way, like we were talking about how, what if you fed the Lord of the Rings and that those like 2 or 3 chapters that Tolkien wrote of a Lord of the Rings toned Hobbit, and
Mhm.
then fed it and like, here is the style that we are trying to match. Here is the rest of the Hobbit. Go. What if you took the Superman 1 soundtrack with John Williams and said, this is the style that we're trying to capture, and then you took
Mhm.
the Superman 2 soundtrack, fed it to an AI, and said, go.
Yeah. And that sort of,
I think it would be fucking awesome.
I mean, I do want to do that with The Hobbit at one point. Just in my head canon, I'll be like, okay, I can sleep soundly now. I have the rest of the book in a more mature tone. Um,
I would be very curious as to what it creates with that,
mhm.
actually. I mean,
I
let's not get into it. We're talking about Superman,
I
but
think the grey area
I
is that
just knew that would be a good.
you could keep hitting refresh on it and get a different result each time. I think
a,
that's
that
the only
is the
thing that takes
problem.
away from it. Yeah.
There's nothing definitive about what you'd create.
Hmm. So with the sound overall, and maybe this could just be the transfer on the version of the DVD I got. I mean, I've got the special edition, so I would imagine that the transfer is among one of the better ones. I mean, I haven't seen this on Blu-ray or anything, so maybe it's improved. But that sort of lack of power in the soundtrack also kind of translated to me within the audio of the film a little bit as well. There was a lot of effects shots, which I know this is 1980, that did
I know what you
feel
mean.
quite cheap and a little bit ropey. Some of the like the compositing on certain scenes, which there were elements of that in the first Superman film as well. But it felt like there was maybe more budget behind that first Superman film, more so than this second one. I actually haven't checked that. I probably
As a
should check that now,
director,
but
well, as a director, Richard Donner is something of a perfectionist. Like, that's why you get such amazing shots from the first one, like him holding up the plane, and it still holds up today. Meanwhile, by the end of the making Superman 1, they're like, the producer's like, "Hey, you're seriously over budget. Cool it."
yeah,
And so I think that bled over into how the pickups for Superman 2, because filming them back to back was supposed to save money. I mean, that's how you got the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers, directed by one Richard Lester.
yes, yeah. And actually, that's a great point. I've just found this quote from him now. So we're talking about cinematography a little bit as well, aren't we? Composite, just how it's all put together now. Jeffrey Unsworth was the cinematographer for the original for Superman the movie, and he passed away actually before the release of that first Superman movie. And this is from Wikipedia. It says Lester was not sympathetic to Donner's filmmaking style. This is a direct quote here from Richard Lester, who says, quote, Donner was emphasizing a kind of grandiose myth. There was a kind of David Leanish attempt in several sequences, an enormous scale. There was a type of epic quality which isn't in my nature. So my work really didn't embrace that. That's not me. That's his vision of it. I'm more quirky and I play around with slightly more unexpected silliness. And I think,
We
and that's
know.
end quote. Yes, there are a number of scenes,
We
and from my understanding as
fucking
well,
know.
that just gets worse as we get into Superman 3 and Superman 4.
You
He
don't
did
get
do,
to say
yeah.
that yet. You might know that, but you don't get to say it yet. Next week you can
um,
say that after you've suffered through Gus Grossman.
and apparently Lester brought on the cinematographer Robert Paintner to do to bring it like up the colors, like the really vibrant garish colors in the film. I don't have a problem with that though, because when I see Superman's costume, I want it to be bright fucking blue with a red cape,
Yeah,
and it looks great. There are certain
yeah.
scenes in this, especially in the Fortress of Solitude and the stuff with Niagara Falls, where it looks amazing. So I don't have a problem with the color scheme at all. Superman, in my opinion, should be bright and colorful. That's what that's what the
Vibrant.
character is. Yeah.
It should
Which
not
is,
look like vomit.
yeah, and it shouldn't be desaturated to hell and back as well when we get to Snyder's Man of Steel. Well, that's a different review for a different time, though. But yeah, the intro, the reshot intro, which changes the order of a lot of things and really, well, completely changes the inciting incident as to what gets our villains into the story. We open with Paris. There are terrorists who have a nuclear device and are going to activate it at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
It's
Hydrogen bombs.
technically speaking, it's not nuclear, it's hydrogen.
That's
no,
right.
it's not atomic.
And I love how one of the crooks, one of the terrorists, is Richard Griffiths, who plays Uncle Vernon in the Harry Potter movies, which was a wonderful.
He has
find.
A past.
This must have been one of his first films, I have to imagine, with a bit part like this.
Yeah, no, it's got to be.
I'm gonna check this actually. That's Richard Griffiths. He's just got one of those faces. Like I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "That's Uncle Vernon." Filmography. Guy. Oh, it was his third role. Apparently, he played terrorist number 3, which is great. You know what? This reminds me of like a cold opener Bond intro, and I fucking love it. There is a James Bond comparison here, not just for the fact that the guy who plays the cop when Zod, Ursa, and Non block the cop car, he plays J.W. Pepper in a couple of the... Yeah, he's the Cajun guy, and he's basically playing the same character, just maybe without the accent. So Guy Hamilton, who directed what I'd say are sort of like the more sleazier Bond movies, they almost feel like they're like a made-for-TV movie. They similar to this film, how it lacks that epic, grandiose quality. It feels...
I would say made for drive-in.
Yes, yeah, there you go.
It's the drive-in theater.
Yeah, it's your Diamonds of Forever, Live and Let Die, Man with a Golden Gun era of movies. And he was originally set to direct this. He was in the lineup after they got rid of Donna. They were going to bring Guy Hamilton in. I don't know if he was busy or he turned it down, and eventually they went with Lester, who himself was brought on during the production of Superman as an intermediary between Richard Donner, who was refusing to talk to the producers, the Salkinds. There was no love lost between Donner and the Salkinds, so he was brought in to like, I'm not talking to you. Tell the Salkinds that I said this. Now, they were trying to groom Lester to be the new director. Should they get rid of Donner, which it was looking like they were going to, they wanted him around on set so he knew what was going on, and if anything happened, they could just move him into the director seat. But there was a good friendship between Lester and Donner, because I think when Donner kind of clocked onto what they were doing and why Lester was really there, Lester said, like, look, I'm not going to interfere with what you're doing. I'm not going to check the dailies. I'm not going to tell you how to do things. If you need my help, I'm here. And that seems like Lester sounds like a really cool guy for doing that he didn't try and butt in too much. But there is that sleazier style to this a little bit in some ways, that more unrefined feel to it.
Some backhandedness happening.
Yeah. Which I'm not even opposed to, because as I say, though that era of Bond movies is just an absolute trip. I mean, it is among some of the worst. Diamonds Are Forever is not a good Bond movie at all. There are elements to it that I enjoy, and it's grown on me.
What's your favorite Bond movie? What's the best Bond movie?
License to Kill, hands down.
From Russia with Love.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite of the Connerys. Yeah, I could see why you'd pick that. I could definitely see that. I'm a sucker.
It's for the same reason why The Batman might be the best Batman movie.
Mm.
It's like actually, like it. The Batman made me realize that the Dark Knight trilogy is not a Batman movie.
Yes. Well, Batman Begins was shaping up to be that way, and then it sort of gets derailed.
No, Batman Begins is kind of desperately ashamed of being a Batman movie.
Well, it's more of a Bruce Wayne movie, I think it's fair to say, maybe. I'd settle for that.
It's Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm. Which really annoys me, because Matt Reeves had this whole arc planned for a trilogy, and when everyone kept saying, oh, I don't like the Batman because Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is terrible because he's not the billionaire playboy, I'm like, just wait until the Batman 2. This is going to be an arc told over 3 films. We're going to see that, and now it looks like we're never going to see that. And I'm like, oh.
Maybe.
Thanks, Warner Brothers. This is why we can't have nice things. Well, we'll see what James Gunn's...
Penguin, by the way.
Oh, dude, it's so good. No spoilers on here. I
Yeah.
mean, me and Dale did our spoiler review a good few months ago now, but we need to talk after the stream about that because isn't it just
He's
the
not going to
best?
become Mr. Freeze.
No, that's I didn't want to tell you. I had to keep my mouth shut the whole time. So good.
I mean, I knew he wasn't going to become Mr. Freeze. I just wanted to make an ice joke because that's the immigration services here.
Easily one of the best TV shows made in the last 5 to 10 years, as far as I'm concerned. I thought the writing was astounding.
Oh
yeah. So Paris, I love this opener. There's some really epic shots in this, actually. Margot Kidder, like Lois Lane, is insane for clinging to the bottom of that elevator, but I admire her guts and everything.
Big N, little O.
I like that. I like
B.
that. Yeah. She was doing the whole spelling thing in the first one, so I like that carries over to here. And you would have to talk yourself in like that situation, like keep your head straight. And like this situation that I'm in right now is fucking terrifying and the weirdest thing ever. But like, I'm going to get through this. She's got that tenacity, which I really like. But when Superman flies in and like grabs the fucking bomb and like blasts out the top of the Eiffel Tower, I love that shit. And what's interesting is when you look at both cuts side by side, if you look at Superman 1, so Superman the movie, it's about probably like half hour, 40 minutes before we get him in the costume. And when you look at the Donner cut of Superman 2, it's actually quite similar to that. We don't see him in costume until Niagara Falls. Whereas in the Lester cut, you know, we're opening strong. We've set up Superman. We want to see Superman. So you open with a bit of an action scene with Superman. I am not opposed to that at all. Is the situation completely ridiculous? Terrorists holding up the Eiffel Tower with a hydrogen bomb. But that's kind of
how'd they get a hydrogen bomb? Anybody with the right equipment can make a bomb. Good to know.
But it's comic booky, and I love it. And the moment where he like flies up and like catches the elevator, doesn't he?
Joel Schumacher.
I love the shot where he throws it into space as well. That looks really cool. I like that moment. And then you get
these movies are really good at throwing nukes into space, I will say. It happens more often than you think, actually.
The Donner cut had the benefit of coming out in 2006 because a lot of the effects shots in there are not what they would have looked like in 1980s. They have more modern technology. There are some uses of more up-to-date CGI in there. One thing that I like in the Lester cut, though, is the use of 2D in this moment where they break out the Phantom Zone. When the initial blast waves hit the Phantom Zone, it goes into 2D animation as it breaks apart and shatters. And I really like that. And that's not in the Donner cut. They used more up-to-date effects for it when they're in their little album cover.
I like how it splits into 3 separate prisons because it's like the people are each individually being released in that. And then he says free. He yells free.
In the Donner cut, he does. Not in the Lester cut. They just they steady themselves and make their way to the moon. I guess just continuing that story then.
Right there.
What do you think to the moon segment then, where we have Zod, Ursa, and Non in action?
I'm quite fond. I love that they're just kind of like they're children playing with they're with magnifying glasses. Except they're learning. Nobody told them that they can use it to make a laser. They're discovering that they can make a laser. I didn't even mean for that to be actually true. They can. I was speaking metaphorically.
The deaths of the astronauts are absolutely horrific, though, when you think about that in like a human context. Yeah.
You know the movie Gravity?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Some are played for laughs. Like the first guy, she rips his suit and it inflates, and then she kicks it, and it's like, and he like farts away. It is a little bit ridiculous, but when you actually put that in context, like, oh my god, that's horrifying. And the guy who's like a balloon on a string, and he's just like pulling him down. I really like this segment. The bit that makes no sense for me, though, and this is just me, you know, splitting hairs a little bit, the bit where Non's got the American flag and the Russian flag, and I'm like, symbolism. Look at this. And he throws the flags down and they just fall.
Wait, why wouldn't they fall?
Well, they'd float down, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, no,
They just fall.
they would fall at 1/8 the speed. You're right.
Yeah, but these
Yeah.
are just like clunk. He just throws them down.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
no, that's
oh,
a good
that's because
point.
it was
I
done on
also
a.
noticed that the dust clouds were not in space. Whenever somebody's like, "Oh, they faked the moon landing," I'm like, Hollywood has never been able to recreate how dust reacts in space in a single movie. And you're going to tell me that in 1969 they nailed it.
Hmm. Let's just see here. So yeah, we have that. I guess like the first comparison here as well, are
Hurts.
just the different
French hurt.
openings as well. In the Donner cut, we have, and I'm torn with this because I do really like the Paris opener, and I think that works as a separate second movie. If you are looking at these in the original context where it was almost meant to be like an act one, act two structure, I like the fact that the ramifications of the ending of that first act of Superman throwing that initial nuclear missile from the end of the first movie is what causes them to break out the Phantom Zone. Now, in both of these cuts, the fact that the Phantom Zone happened to be traveling through that specific part of space right at that precise moment is bullshit in both cuts. But I like both versions. I don't have a problem with either of them in the circumstances. But it is worth
Yeah,
noticing
no.
that it is different. I think the use of music as well, maybe the more darker General Zod theme that's in the first movie that's used over these, does give certain moments of the trio of villains in this a much more sinister edge to it. You see that exemplified more in the White House attack, which is a little bit more brutal. The fact that Zod kills a kid when they initially come to that town. And I think like the final fight at the end by stripping out a lot of the slapstick humor and whatnot, which Lester was famed for, it definitely does have a more consistent tone. And I think that's where I'd give the edge to the Donner cut there, is that I like how they handle the consistent tone of the villains in this a lot more, I think.
Yeah, the it seems like a lot of the action that was filmed by Lester for the Donner cut just gets trimmed down a little. Like there's a little bit more carnage in the Lester one, of like with some of the Houston fight specifically.
Yeah.
Like I the car driving through the building,
Hmm.
which was in was in the super extended one that we saw, but I'm pretty sure is from the Lester cut.
Hmm. Yeah. That being said, though, I like that
So he
Lester is
murders
a.
a child,
Yeah, he
which
does. I
actually
completely forgot
means
about that.
the Donner cut does fix that.
Yes, no, it does. And I mean, the death's quite brutal anyway. He launches the police siren so hard that it's essentially like a fucking meteor just blowing up that kid and the horse as well. The kid
It's
was
a
riding the
railgun.
horse. Yeah. But what just sweetens the deal more for me is one of my favorite characters in this movie, which is Ursa, where she just says, he shall never grow to be a man. I'm like, oh my god. Like I love Ursa's character. She's so cool. And I will say as well, like I like in Man of Steel how, I mean, I don't like much in that film, but I like that Snyder sort of has a Ursa like character with Theora. She basically fulfills exactly the same role as that Ursa did in Superman 2. And there is kind of a non
To
as
the point where I
well
wonder
in the
why her
Smallville
name
fight.
isn't Ursa.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
I
is her
wondered
name
that
not
too.
Ursa?
Yeah. And
Like, you're clearly doing that.
there is sort of a non-like character as well that he fights in Smallville in Man of Steel. There's like this big, burly,
Hmm.
bulky one that's like the muscle, and I thought, is that meant to be non? He doesn't have words; he just talks in grunts.
We see Michael Keaton kill that guy like 5 times.
Yeah, we do. The Flash has got its problems, and I didn't want to see Batman go out that way. But when I think about it, Michael Keaton Batman taking on like a superhuman tank of a Kryptonian and like actually holding his own, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And it's honestly not unbelievable, like especially because they haven't been exposed to the atmosphere. So underneath the advanced armor, they're squishy.
You know what? Like, a flash review at some point. I mean, I think I already have one on my channel, but I think it was probably when I was having problems with StreamYard, so the audio isn't great. That movie is utterly abysmal and has some of the worst visual effects I've ever seen in a movie. However, that film also does have, if I'm looking across the board at just Batman in feature film history, it has some of my favorite, most coolest Batman scenes in that movie.
It is ironic that that movie has both some of the best and the worst CGI human faces.
Mm.
Because you've got, of course, you've got those horrible things in the Speed Force with Henry Cavill, the baby shower,
Christopher Reeve.
all that. Oh, Christopher Reeve. But on top, but then you've got you genuinely forget that there aren't two Ezra Millers on the screen sometimes.
Mm.
Like you're like, wow, they did a really good job because that is a face replacement. It's not just the footage, the two footages.
There are some bits where it is a little bit ropey, where you can see
you can see
like the cracks around the edges.
Yeah, a little floaty.
But like the Affleck Batman scene at the beginning, where he's given chase on the Bat bike, and then the explosion.
That was really fun.
And he launches out of the explosion.
The voice was wrong.
Yeah, oh yeah, and he like the suit looked horrendous though, but he like grapple guns onto the back of the truck. And I was like, I want a Batman movie like this, super heightened, comic booky, like this. That was cool. Anyway, let's not talk about
that. There's a clip online of him saying, "My ego is far too great for me to say thank you to anyone," and then hard cut to him in Batman vs Superman. Thanks, Alfred.
Oh yeah, that movie's got a lot of problems, but it has got some cool Batman stuff in there. I got a kick out of it, some bits. Right, and then another big change for this one. So I was aware of this because I have seen the Donner cut before. I think I've only watched it the once before. Superman, the Superman 2, the theatrical cut, I think I've seen a bunch of times, maybe like 3 or 4 times before this. I completely forgot that this moment, this is where Lois Lane figures out, in the Donner cut, she figures out immediately, the first scene at the Daily Planet that we get, she is 100% clocked onto the fact that Clark Kent is probably Superman and is willing to bet her life on it by throwing herself out of the Daily Planet window. I really dislike this. I think it's wildly out of character for Lois Lane in this moment. And I like how it's more of a slow burn in the Lester cut. There are other little things in the Lester cut that I like too, which may seem really small and insignificant, but add up throughout the movie for me. It's just little character motifs or little character moments that allow for a better payoff later.
You're talking about the orange juice. Just say it's the orange juice.
I'm talking about the orange juice. She's on this health kick, and it's a great moment in the Lester cut where she's like, a chain smoker, and she's like, "Oh, I want to stay fit and healthy." But there's
this is natural.
Yes, it's a great moment. It's a great moment, and it's sprinkled in throughout. So later on, when you have the moment at Niagara Falls, and he comes back with the hot dogs, and he's like, "Oh, I forgot the orange juice, Miss Lane." It's like, oh, okay. It adds up throughout, and it does make the difference. There's another part at the beginning of the Lester cut as well, where Clark's trying to cross the road, and he's really clumsy, and he's scatterbrained, and the taxi drives into him. Now, that probably would raise a few eyebrows. I'm not going to lie. Dude fucking dents the hell out of that taxi. But that taxi driver we see later on during the Metropolis fight, and he's like cheering on Superman or something. So I'm like, they didn't have to do that. But that was nice that I remembered that guy from earlier in the movie. And it's just little bits like that.
Chris, you're saying they didn't have to do that. What they did was they're like, okay, Chris, move out of the way. All right, now we need you to stick your head out the window and yell, "Yeah, go get him, Superman!" Like they filmed those back to back because that's when they had the cab driver and they were filming on the street.
Mm. The way that Clark rescues. So what happens with this then? Because in the Donner cut, is this where he uses his laser beam eyes for the first time to break her fall?
This is the first time he ever uses those. Yeah, he lasers the what are those called?
It's like the canopy thing, isn't it? That you get over shop fronts.
Yeah, no, there's a word I can't remember. It sounds sort of like carousel, but I can't remember what it is. Somebody will tell me.
One of Superman's many new powers, certainly in the Lester cut anyway, that we see exemplified in this film.
He's got a lot of power.
The the much parodied the Family Guy bit on that is brilliant. The cellophane S, which I've always scratched my head about. It's great though. It's so shit, and I'd kind of want to keep it in an edit just because it's so bad and terrible. The fact that he can duplicate himself now, he's multiple man.
I'm assuming that that's the hologram technology of the Fortress of Solitude, like the same way his parents can appear and just kind of walk around depending which cut you're walk. Actually, no, they do it in both.
We have the ice breath that he has as well in this too.
Yeah, we get the ice breath, which did we not get that in the first? No, we don't. Because I was thinking he could have used it on the water at Hoover Dam.
And then Zod, Ursa, and Nan have a which probably means that Superman also has this power where they can
people fly.
Yeah, they can levitate people, which is very strange. I'm not sure if that is one of
sticks and snakes.
I'm not sure if that is one of Superman's powers, the ability to make people float. I'm not sure.
Probably in the Silver Age.
Speaking of that moment where you just mentioned like snakes and everything, the Donner cut really butchers the moment where Zod, Ursa, and Non first like land on Earth. We still get that great shot where Terrence Stamp lands in the water and then rises up and walks on water, and you have that quite jokey moment. I thought that was maybe a Lester thing where you have the fisherman who thinks like, tips the alcohol away. But that's it. That remains in both cuts. But there's nice little moments where there's a running theme where Ursa immediately can do laser eyes, and she says, "Did you just see that? I just did this." And then Non tries to do it, and he's straining really hard, and he can't do it. It's just like a little bit. But then later on,
he's trying, and he's like, "Hey, I'm doing it! I'm doing it!"
This is why the Lester cut is superior, because it's these little moments that add up. And
I agree that is definitely something that is superior about the Lester cut.
Mm-hmm.
But the action sequences in the Donner cut are done better, although neither one is great. I was going to say that the technology wasn't there, but I would also throw out there that Richard Donner wasn't doing his best for these parts because he was told not to.
And I mean, there are entire scenes in this film, in the Donner cut at least, which are early screen tests where, Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder were still kind of getting to grips with their character, and their chemistry probably wasn't 100% there yet. And that's quite evident to see in some of these scenes. The moment where they're in the hotel room together in like the honeymoon suite or whatever it is, that feels very awkward and stilted. There's a moment as well where Clark goes to the Fortress of Solitude when he's lost his powers and he calls out to his father. That is from a very, very early screen test. You can tell by the physiques and you can tell by the performance as well. It's not quite there. And a number of these scenes were reshot for the Lester cut, and in my opinion are a much better take on a lot of these scenes. The earlier ones just lack that refinement.
Both fathers are ass. I prefer Donner.
Oh, the bit where he screams like, "Father!"
When you answer for the burning of the Westfold.
Yeah, I think in the Lester cut, it's more "Father" like that. I think that's the Lester cut version.
It is,
and then the Donner cut has the voice crack.
Stage.
Yeah, and then the Donner cut has like "Father," and he's like voice cracks and shit. It's like Zachary Quinto yelling Khan in Into Darkness. It's like, that's the best take you got for that? You didn't want to try another one? Okay, yeah. So what I mentioned, I like that the Lois coming around to the idea that Clark is Superman is much more of a slow burn. In the Donner cut, she does the doodle on the paper.
I like the
You like the pistol more? Oh, this is going to be our first debate on the stream. I prefer the fire. We'll go through that in a minute. But yeah, so she doesn't really clock on to the fact that he might be Superman until he momentarily takes his glasses off at Niagara Falls, and she catches a glimpse, and that starts the cogs. It's like a 3-act thing with her thinking process here. She has that moment where it first puts the idea in her head. And the second time is where Clark goes off to the food stand and he's not there when Superman shows up, and then she thinks about all the times where he's never around when Superman's there.
Out loud.
Yeah, and then the third time is where she's like, right, I'm going to test my hypothesis right now, and I'm going to throw myself into Niagara Falls, and we're going to see what happens. It is very brazen of her, because she's like, if I'm right, then I know you're Superman and you save me. If I'm wrong, well, then you've got one hell of a story. I'm like, yeah, but you're dead. You're still dead, Lois. Like,
Yeah,
so
but
you
she's
pick your
willing to
poison.
bet her life on it.
You pick your
Women,
poison.
am I right?
Between both cuts, there is a moment where Lois either throws herself out of a window or throws herself into Niagara Falls. So you pick your poison. I prefer the slower build of the Niagara Falls, and I think it's much more within her character than just throwing herself out of the Daily Planet right at the beginning. And also, she already had that thought process at the beginning of the Donna cut. And then when you get that beat again at Niagara Falls, where she sees him without his glasses, that feels like a reveal of her first having that idea that he could be Superman. It's whereas in the Donna cut, it would be a continuation. Yeah. And it doesn't feel that way when you watch it. Maybe that's just because I'm used to the theatrical cut and the pacing of that, but
I think there's something in the middle here. I maybe would remove the fruit stand stuff, but keep the newspaper. I just desperately want to remove her talking to herself.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to talk about the gun?
Is this after the child rescue or before?
This is after the child rescue.
Let's talk about that real quick. The rescue, the world's slowest fall, especially in the Lester
yes.
cut. It's even longer. They do truncate it a little in the Donna cut, but it's still ridiculously long. I do like how it's obviously a dummy and he's just like flailing around.
Yeah,
it looks like the end of RoboCop when he falls out the window. he's got the giant arms. But this little shit of a kid, like I'm sorry, this is natural selection at its finest. And the completely incompetent mum, where he's like, "Hey, mommy, look at me." She's like, "Yeah, that's nice, Timmy."
Just eating the fucking cotton candy.
But the music's great in this part in the theatrical cut, and Superman swoops down. It's a great triumphant moment. You got the Jewish woman as well. She's like, "Oh, what a good boy. I always knew he was Jewish," or whatever she says.
Yeah, so is she like is the water causing his little red undies to compress? I'm like, what is she seeing?
I don't know. She's an old woman, but it's great. It's a great moment.
Let's add that line to Zod's arrival on Earth.
But I like the part in the Lester
when he's
cut
walking
after
on the
this.
water.
Yeah. Also, the Donna cut removes the part where he's in mid run and then he just morphs into the Superman costume. It's always funny when they do that. Those fucking boots, man. He could be wearing the costume underneath his normal clothes, but what about the boots? We got to account for those.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my roommate pointed it out when he was like, "Yeah, no, I guess he was wearing the boots," and I was like, "Shut up! Just don't mention it. Just don't mention the boots."
He stashed. Does he have to sort of like stash his costume somewhere off screen? And he's just moving so fast that we don't see him divert to. We're not meant to think about it. We're not meant to think about it, but
he must be wearing the boots all the time. The question is, what happens to his shoes?
Are these like reversible? Oh, look, reversible. Is it just like you fold the red boots inside out and he's got smart work shoes? It's the only possible explanation. It's the only thing I can think of. But I like the Lester cut, how it goes on after this scene and she's kind of mulling it over and she's sort of like ribbing him like, "Oh, yeah, you're never around when Superman's there." And then you have the whole Niagara Falls stuff. I love all that stuff. I much prefer Lester's cut there, specifically as well the soundtrack mixing here in the Donna cut, because they just completely copy paste music from Superman the movie in order to give John Williams his score credit. there's some really awkward, choppy audio with this one, and they loop a section of music. I sent it to you on an audio message, and it kills the triumphant music of this scene. The Ken Thorne soundtrack's really, really good in this scene. It's probably my favorite bit of music from the film. And then they just loop in the Donner cut. They have like da, 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 da. It's not even timed properly. Like if you know the tempo of a song and the beat, it's. And if you do enough fan editing and stuff, you've got an ear for that kind of shit, like timing and.
Oh yeah, no, dude, the looping of musical cues like that. That's a trick you taught me.
Yeah, but
Because I was transitioning from Anakin saying goodbye to his mom to Back to A New Hope, and you were just like, dude, just take the dun 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 and just loop it and have it get quieter, and it was fucking perfect.
Yeah, you got to play with like loops, like crossfades, and you've got to like crank the volume up all the way to make sure that there's no other part of the music bleeding through on that crossfade section. It's a whole thing, and then you got to gradually bring the volume down and adjust it. This bit, it's just really awkward. It's like the record skipping, because it essentially is. They just paid no attention to it, and yeah, I will say though, in the Donner cut, apart from that scene, I never massively got a sense of, oh, they're just repeating this theme. I think the soundtrack does blend in quite well with Superman 2, despite the fact that there were no original pieces of music written for it.
I like that when he gets his powers back, it's like the destruction of Krypton theme, I think.
Yeah.
I think that worked really well because it's the second death of his father.
Mm-hmm. So there are some good moments there, but man, it just killed me because the Niagara Falls scene with Superman first flies in is just wonderful. Okay, now we can talk about the gunshot. If you want to take it away, argue your case for gunshot, and I'll argue my case for against it.
It gives agency back to Lois, which something she loses a lot of. Honestly, after this scene for the rest of the series. The hair is fucked. The hair is utterly fucked.
On both of them.
I know.
On both of them. Yeah.
But the thing is, I like the greater implication that Superman does not feel bullets at all.
And apparently they have no effect on his uniform either, because we've seen that happen too.
That's just how movies work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's but
it's that Kryptonian Gorman fiber.
You know, this is a blatant plot hole contradiction of the previous movie when he catches the bullet, and I'm like, you mean the scene when at the end he has to like check his hand to make sure he actually caught the bullet? That scene.
I don't think he was checking to check if he caught it. He knew he caught it. I think he just looked down at it like, I'm Superman, like that kind of thing. It's not like, did I actually get that bullet? Like, oh yeah, no, I got it. It's not that.
I mean,
it's like he does it in a smug way.
More practical, and the other one plays into more of him beating up that guy at the diner.
Which makes no sense in the Donner cut at all. Like, that poor guy.
He's straight up just a bully in that version. He's like, what the like?
He's Bully McGuire.
I watched the Donner cut on my own, and then immediately started the Lester cut. And my roommate, and then eventually my father joined, and my father fucking hates this movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I told him, like, yeah, in the Richard Donner cut, he's reset time at this point, so none of that previous stuff happened. So he's just beating up this guy for like no reason.
Yeah, none of this. He resets it to, well, they go back into the Phantom Zone. I know we're jumping all around with this. They go back into the Phantom Zone. The whole city's fixed. At what point does he then resume time? Because
here's what I think we should do.
Go on.
If we were to actually do a true Richard Donner 2-part edit, have him stop the second nuke, send it into space, free Zod, freedom, end the movie. Next movie, he reverses time. The nuke hits the thing. Now he has to save Los Angeles.
Oh, so you want to open on that action beat for like your beginning of part 2?
No. End on that action beat. He has to
Mhm.
save Los Angeles because he's just reversed time to keep the nuke from releasing Zod,
Mhm.
which means it has to hit the West Coast, which means he has to save the West Coast now.
So I guess in the Donner cut, he reverses time pretty much more or less when he wasn't on the job all that long. People know who Superman is, so this is like after the montage that establishes who Superman is, but probably not
Yeah.
long after that. Well,
Yeah,
in that
no, it would
case,
have
I'm
to
like,
be.
well, what a worthless fucking movie then, because
Yeah,
nothing
literally,
happened.
it didn't happen.
It's
The
like, oh, it was
movie
all a
did not
dream.
happen.
Yeah, well, I hate it. I
Yeah,
hate it
no,
in both cuts, but it to me it makes even less sense having it at the end of 2. I know that was the original suggestion, but it makes no sense in either
so
cut.
did
I'm just
he
like
undestroy the Fortress of Solitude?
that's yeah. Well, yeah. I guess that's how it works. Yeah,
Then why did he destroy the Fortress of Solitude?
it doesn't. The time reversal doesn't make any sense, dude. Doesn't make any sense. It's fucked. But then I'm like, because everyone else sort of reverts back to how they were, right? So Gene Hackman would still want to blow up the San
He's
Andreas fault
no. Had to. No, wait,
because
yeah. That's
Superman's
he's
still a thing and he hates Superman and he wants his real estate. Like he'd still go through with that plan. We're caught in a never-ending time
he's
loop
about to
here.
just he's about to just go there for like he just beat up this guy in Canada. Now he's gonna go just be like, I'm not opening that box. I know there's a fucking green rock in there, you idiot. Which, by the way, should have come back when he was dealing with the 3 Kryptonians.
Mhm.
They're like, kill him. Kill me? How about now?
Maybe he only had the one bit. He only had it on that necklace, and that was in at the
But
swimming
he
pool
still
somewhere.
lives there. It's still there. Oh wait, no. It was on
No,
the
he's in
it went into
jail.
the sewer, didn't it?
Yeah.
All right, fine. But I'm just saying, he couldn't. Yes, in this context, in this continuity, we know that must have been all he found.
Mhm.
But when you're an omnipotent, omniscient writer, it didn't have to be.
Um, so I guess just going back to the honeymoon suite stuff then with the reveal, I prefer.
What is a honeymoon scandal? What the fuck are they? What are they trying to uncover? Actually, you said honeymoon, and I was like, wait a second. I remember this question. What the fuck are they doing there? There is some sort of honeymoon scandal that is cheating young couples out of their money somehow. What does that mean?
There's a lot of ridiculous stuff. It's the Leicester stuff. I mean, it's all in the Leicester cut. The pink bear rug on the floor. This chain makes the flames go
Have fun in
higher and
here,
whatnot.
whatever.
This bed vibrates. It
Yeah, it
reminds
does.
me of Scary Movie 3, but this chair, I call her Linda, and she vibrates. Like, um,
Oh.
but yeah, so this is all the silly Leicester stuff, but it does have the setup with the flames later on. Okay, the main reason is just I think the performances are better in the Leicester cut than they are because they're taking the early screen test. It's not there. I don't like the fact that Lois pulls a gun on Clark. I know I do like how they end it though, where he says, "And if you were wrong, Lois, you would have killed the real Clark Kent." And she says it's actually a blank. But even just like the fucking balls on her to do that and point a gun at him, that's going to be an awkward day in the office the day after, right? Um,
Yeah, no.
so
Clark Kent would be irreversibly traumatized.
exactly,
He would have,
exactly.
like, you know how she was like, "Don't fall over because you're just gonna have to get up." He would have fallen over, fainted, probably hit his head.
Yeah. I also think that the way it's edited in the Donner cut with the whole gunshot and him reacting to it is strangely edited and like a bit of
I
slow-mo that
disagree.
doesn't
I
quite
thought that
work.
I thought that was really good. Especially just the instant transformation from Clark to Superman.
I feel like we needed more of a reaction shot to it, either where he tries to catch the bullet, or that they could have done like a callback to that, or just a part where he looks down and reacts to it in
No,
some way.
because
It's
because he doesn't need to look down. He's Superman. It's just if the bullet hit him and it bounced off and it's on the floor somewhere, it really doesn't actually matter. He's more pissed off at the woman who just shot him. Like the
I think
bullet does not matter. There's a
maybe
criminal.
maybe like a wider shot or something where we just see
Maybe,
it
yeah,
like
I can see
bounce
that.
off or something.
Especially where we could like see him go full stick up
Yeah,
his ass.
yeah. Now the flame thing. Do I think that's perfectly good evidence that someone, not burning their hand in the flames
No,
means that he's Superman? I mean, if you've watched the special edition version of Superman the movie, where we know that he's impervious to fire, and you have the gauntlet that he goes through. By the way, I like that
did
the
they
Lester
use
cut.
footage from that later?
Yeah, when he removes his powers in the pod, and you see, yeah, that was from that. They did a Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies where they reused that Radagast footage. I wouldn't mind, but you can see the shadow of the spider against the window still in that shot. It bothers me so fucking much. I hate it. Anyway,
Battle of Yavin. Battle of Yavin.
yeah.
When you realize how much footage is just tossed around and recycled in that, you become more okay with a lot of things.
But I think thematically why I like the flames more is because it actually plays into the whole moral dilemma of what Superman does and him internally, subconsciously getting rid of the Superman persona and wanting to just settle down with Lois. And we talked about the impact of these films, and the structure that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films follow is very, very close, intentionally so, to the Superman trilogy. Spider-Man 2, the plot of that is that he is having that crisis between his two identities and wanting to get rid of the Spider-Man persona and just live as a normal guy to fall in love with a woman.
I like Spider-Man 2. I like Spider-Man 2. I like the beginning, I like the middle, I like the end. But the ending is the ending of a different, still good Spider-Man movie. Like, I'm just saying,
yeah.
a very complicated problem was given an insanely simple solution.
And the line in this where he trips and it's all a little bit awkward.
Same in this, actually.
And he doesn't burn his hand. Like, the line's super corny that follows that, and he's like, I'm sorry, Lois, I don't know why I did that. And she goes, something like, I didn't mean to do that. She's like, maybe you didn't with your mind, but maybe with your heart, which is, like, is a terrible line. But it does stay.
Can you read my mind shit?
Yeah. It's in keeping. It's in keeping with the tone. Like, I'm fine with it. But I like that version of the film with the fire plays much more into the strong theme of what Superman is doing in the film and his crisis of identity.
What fire
and it
represents.
begins there. Whereas in the Donner cut, it's just Lois pulls a gun. She's got like, I've got a hunch that you're Superman, and I'm going to shoot you, and I'm going to prove that you are. And it doesn't really go beyond that. It's just, oh, well, she knows he's Superman now, and that's fine. And then he wants to settle down. Whereas in the Lester cut, he's already got that subconscious idea that he needs to, that he just wants a normal life.
He was still talking about the fact that they're there as a honeymoon couple thing in that very not pink room.
Well, yeah, but that's the job they were on, though, right? That's
yeah, but
that.
he's like, I'm actually, I'm quite, I'm pretty, think this is pretty swell, and damn it, Lois, I'm me, and I'm not that guy, and it's like, yeah, no, you're that guy.
I feel like the fire, it just, it's maybe not so subtly, but it does kind of hit you over the head with that theme. But I like that it feels like it's more in keeping to the rest of it. I'm not overly keen about the fire reveal. I think they could have maybe done it in a slightly different way, but I like what's behind that scene. Yeah. Does that take us on to Houston after that?
We've talked a bit about Houston, but if you wanna keep going, let us mourn this poor child.
Oh, so before
he was
that
just
point,
a boy.
before that point, sorry, I think it's around about this point that we have Lex breaking out of jail and making his way to the Arctic.
Otis.
Oh, he was a
Poor
real one,
Otis.
Mr. Luthor. What
What
I
else
was
is
actually
Dallas
really
for?
surprised about, the fact that the Donner cut is trying to be a much more serious take. It removes a lot of the silly scenes, especially towards the end in Metropolis. Some of the sillier Zod, Ursa, and Non scenes, but it adds a lot more sort of extended, excruciating Lex Luthor jokes and humor. That seems to be where a lot more of the jokes are with this one.
Well, that's
There's
where the jokes were in the last one. You got Tessmacher and you got Otis, and you got Gene Hackman.
because I think I'm right in saying this. I mean, you watch both cuts back to back. The bit where he's like, Shh! What was that? Shh! Don't
Yeah,
when
yeah, yeah. That was.
that's all in the Donner cut, isn't it? That went on way
Oh yeah,
too
no.
long.
Well,
That didn't.
any joke, anything with Gene Hackman was definitely filmed by Donner
Yeah.
because
Um.
three like you got. I mean, I know I'm gonna just say two because I'm not gonna count Marlon Brando in this. You got two. You got Margot Kidder and Gene Hackman who were very vocal about you guys fucked over Richard Donner,
Mhm.
and so they had to work with what they could with Gene Hackman, and you got some very clearly not Gene Hackman audio and visuals. You guys ever heard of parachutes?
Yeah, he refused to return for reshoots, so body doubles and voiceovers. I noticed a lot of dodgy overdubs in the Donner cut, actually. And the ending as well, where they just get an actress who quite clearly isn't Margot Kidder typing at the
Is
typewriter
not
at the end.
Margot Kidder
It's
at
just so,
all, and she like the camera's on her face.
yeah, it's so strange, that ending. It's just, yeah, completely slapped together. Um,
But the
yeah, so there's a
toothpaste goes back into the bottle because that's like the thing people say can't happen when
thing.
when something is irreversible. You specifically say the toothpaste can't go back into the tube, so they can show us the toothpaste going back into the tube. It's like a metaphor.
And it's going very, very slowly back into the tube, despite the fact that entire buildings are being reconstructed at
Everything
super
else
fast
is
speed.
happening much faster. Yeah.
What was I saying? Sorry. Yeah, so there's lots of extra Luther jokes. There's the bit where he gets to the Fortress of Solitude with Miss Tessmacher, and there's this joke about her finding the bathroom, which there's a soundbite in the Donner cut where she like screams afterwards, where it sounds like she falls, but then we never see her again in the rest of the movie. Did she die?
Maybe.
Did she fall down like a chasm or something? Because she
Fuck,
flushes the
it is
bathroom.
treacherous.
She flushes the toilet in the Fortress of Solitude, which is just bizarre. I mean, I guess that would there be
There's
no?
gotta be one. There needs to be one.
I mean, you're in the Arctic. You just pop a squat outside, like especially if you're Superman
You
and cold
freeze your
doesn't get to
balls
you.
off.
If cold doesn't get to you, but then okay, well that doesn't make any sense because he gets rid of his powers to become human, and he walks without hitchhiking to the North Pole.
They get a car, which Lois takes after.
Now this is where he goes on his own, where he does the father scene.
No, I know, but before that, they leave the Fortress of Solitude and they somehow have a car which they use to get okay, Lois is straight up like, I want a hot dog. They go in the restaurant and she says, give me a cheeseburger with the works.
Mm-hmm.
Beg your pardon, bitch. You just said you wanted a hot dog.
Women, am I right?
I Richard Donner cameo in that, by the way.
I do want to say there is a TV cut of this as well, which just does add some things in, and I think there is something that prompts them wanting to go for a hot dog. But I mean, if the line is that she wants a hot dog and then she gets in there and says a burger, the discrepancy is still there. But there is a longer TV edit of this, and I was going to mention that because I know at the end that probably the most prominent scene that I know from the TV edit is where you see Zod, Ursa, and Non getting arrested, which sounds ridiculous, but they've been stripped of their powers. They're regular mortals now. It's
dead,
totally
Chris.
fine.
They are dead, Chris.
They fall into the
I need
endless.
to tell you that Christopher Reeve has absolutely no Christopher Reeve's Superman has no qualms murdering his opponents. He in 3 of the 4 movies, he just kind of does that.
He's not meant to, though. That's the rule. Like, theatrical cut, they just get kicked down an endless chasm, a seemingly endless chasm. Lois kills one of them. None just falls down because he's a fucking idiot, and then Superman directly kills Zod, I guess. In the Donner cut, across the board in the Donner cut, it's 2006. They use much more modern sound effects for a lot of it. There's more impact behind the punches, the explosions, the destruction. So everything feels a lot heavier. So when Superman throws Zod into the wall, it's like a back-breaking sound effect when he smacks against the wall. And I was like, oh yeah, he's absolutely dead in this cut. He is gone.
Also,
he just got punted into a wall by fucking
juiciness
Superman.
of his fingers getting like just crushed.
Oh,
can we just take a second and appreciate the best line in this movie?
Superman.
Like, you know it. What? Wait, which
favorite.
one?
That's my favorite line.
Which
it's
one?
where Zod's on TV and he grabs the megaphone. He's like, "Who is this Superman? Come to me, Superman!" And I'm like, "Why you say it like that?"
There's also in that same scene, it was like, "Come before me, Superman!
Kneel.
Come and kneel before Zod!
Zod!" Yeah. That is the best scene.
Not what I was talking about.
Okay.
The best line in the movie. The best line in the movie.
Is it this bit?
Okay, great line.
Okay.
But no. After that scene, why do you say these things when you know I will kill you for it? It's just so real.
Yeah.
You can feel just the confusion and the rage. What is in Zod's in Terrence Stamp's performance? He's more confused than he's angry because he doesn't understand why anyone would be so fucking suicidal. It's just a real moment.
Terrence Stamp's fucking great as General Zod. He's a tremendous actor anyway, and yeah, he's so quotable in this. The look and everything. What I completely forgot about this actually watching it on a rewatch. I love that they're all wearing white foundation on their face, like stage makeup.
Yeah,
And
they are.
I can only imagine if you're watching this on Blu-ray that's even more prominent. And I thought, are they just meant to be pale as fuck? But I'm like, no, that's makeup. And they're all in their like 70s disco jumpsuits. And Ursa, she's got like the little slit up the thigh. That's this.
Of course, you noticed that.
Yeah. What was I going to say about?
What do you think of Michael Shannon?
You know what? I don't mind him. I think it's just I wish he was given better material. Yeah, I could have done without that. In the trailer, he says it once, and it was like really punchy. And
he will find him. He will find him. He will find him.
I tell you what, that was like. Do you want to finish it off? Do you want to do the big showstopper one?
He will find him.
There we go. That felt like, you know how Ian Holm and also Martin Freeman will do multiple takes of a scene and give different inflections and say it in different ways. It felt like Snyder just stacked them all up.
I can't choose. I cannot decide.
I can't pick between these 5-line readings, so I'm just going to stack them all next to each other. But Terrence Stamp is so good in this. So many great moments as well. There's some silly moments.
He fucking loves it.
Yeah. The bit in the Donner cut that I really like is where they storm the White House and he gets the fucking machine gun.
He's so happy. He's got an M16 and he's just like, this is cool. We didn't have these on Krypton.
There's a slightly extended Ursa moment, which is a little bit weird in the Donner cut. I think the pacing works better in the Lester cut. It's where you have the decoy who kneels first, and he says, a real president wouldn't. Then they splice in an extra scene where Ursa says, "Look at their medals. They're so even the men are decorated."
What a
Yeah.
strange planet. Even the men wear medals and ribbons.
And I did wonder if that scene's necessary, because then it cuts to a wide shot and you see one of the generals kind of holding where she's like ripped the medal off. And then is she wearing it later? Is she wearing it later on? I couldn't tell if
she puts on all the thing. She like keeps ripping these ribbons and shit off of people and wearing them.
Yeah.
She's got the sheriff's badge or
the
the police officer's badge, the astronaut, and then the general's ribbons.
Mm-hmm.
She's a real pain in the neck like that.
Whereabouts did we get up to in the movie? Okay, one of the biggest differences here. So I guess the whole Superman getting rid of his powers and becoming mortal. No Marlon Brando, as we've discussed in the Lester cut. It's all the mom, and this stems from an idea for multiple reasons.
It's not all the mom. It is not all the mom.
Oh no, there's other Kryptonians.
95% the mom.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you've got Gene Hackman, who's not coming in for reshoots, saying he's not really here. He's just a voice from the past. And so that can't beat the mom. So Lobot is here. He's got a cameo. He's giving us a poem about.
Oh, is that him? Oh, you mentioned that he got a cameo in this film, and I didn't place it. I forgot that was Lobot. Oh, that's cool.
By the way, just for future, Brainiac.
Yeah, that could work. That could work. We're setting this shit up like that. Like we set up Zod at the beginning of Superman 1, and we don't pay that shit off until the next movie. We have Brainiac. We got Metallo. We got ideas. We got some stuff circulating.
Computo is also someone.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Is
Silver
that
Age?
No. Oh, it is. Oh.
No.
I mean, it depends which incarnation you're looking at, because I'm seeing a picture here, and this is probably more of a modern take. It looks like Mephisto crossed with fucking Ghost Rider. That was pretty rad. And then other times it's just like a floating black chick with an afro next to Rosie the Robot. That's Silver Age. That's the Silver Age. Oh, that's the one we need to do.
That one's that one's the one from Superman 3.
Yes, yeah. Maybe Richard Pryor can play.
I mean, I don't remember that. I've repressed that.
Is Richard Pryor going to play Computo?
He was almost Brainiac.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. If you can see the echoes of like, oh, it was going to be like a reveal.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
He was going to be behind it all along, and he was Brainiac, but that got written out, and he's just Gus Gorman.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, going back to the differences between Lester here with Superman's mom and Jor-El returning again in the Donner cut once they had permission from the Brando estate. I like both versions overall. I think that Jor-El is much more in keeping, especially if you're looking at this as an Act 1, Act 2. I like that he gets that final moment, the bit that the hologram essentially gives the powers back to him. We see that actually on screen, whereas in the Lester cut, Superman regaining his powers happens off screen. There is a bit of a setup for it, but we don't
via
see
a
that
technical
happen.
loophole.
Yes. And I like that in the Donner cut with the Jor-El stuff, his last line before he disappears completely is a nice little bookended. So, like when he first said goodbye to him on Krypton, it's the father becomes the son becomes the father, and the father the son. That's
I don't
echoed again
like
in their
that
final
it's
moments.
part of a prophecy. I would have just been cool that he just said the thing.
Yeah,
like if we're using this version, I'm just gonna say,
yeah.
But cut that one part. Just have him like, look at me, Kal-El. The son becomes the father becomes the son.
Mhm. And then he starts
Just
jiggling
don't
like.
mention a prophecy.
And Christopher Reeve's performance in this scene is really, really fucking bad. So we're gonna have to try and like cut this with the theatrical cut in some way if we possibly can. But
No, there's nothing to cut to there.
oh yeah, that's a good point. But I am going to argue that I actually really like the scenes with his mom. I think it's nice that.
Oh, I like the scenes with his mom too. She's a great actor.
I think it seems only fitting that Jor-El would bestow him with many crystals of knowledge and his likeness, and also maybe some crystals with the likeness of his mom. I think there are grounds for that. And this was actually a suggestion from one of
Honestly, it
the.
kind of that pisses me off in Man of Steel that like because it's an interactive consciousness. So why couldn't you have also done his mom?
Yeah. And I guess if you
Like
watch the
these are
Donna cut, they
important.
also do that as well. But yeah,
Ugh.
I like that it's his mom, and this was an idea that was thrown around by, I believe, one of the producers when they didn't want to give Marlon Brando another percentage of the cuts, and they were thinking of different ways. He suggested, well, I'm going to actually try and find the quote. He talks about where's the quote? I will find it. Here we go.
You
Yeah,
will
it was one of
find
the
it.
Salkinds. Ilya Salkind had also claimed Brando was removed due to creative differences, in which he suggested to his father, quote, what if it's the mother instead? She talks about love to her son, and it kind of made sense creatively. Jor-El had done his thing, if you want. I don't quite get the end of that quote there, but essentially what he's saying is the fact that because it's a subject of love, and Clark Kent is having this heart-to-heart, that it makes more sense that he'd go to his mom for advice and guidance on this. And you know what? That is,
Okay.
it's like something like a son would do, going to their mom and saying, like, hey, I really like this girl, or like you bring the girl home to the family kind of thing. It is that very traditional gesture. And I like that that's in the Lester cut, that he does have some time to interact with his mom. And those moments where he talks about how much that he loves Lois, I think they're better acted because these are all reshoots. And I think that Christopher Reeve had time to get into the character more, and his performance improved. And I think it hits more. It hits better. It's more emotionally impactful to me that when he talks to his mom and says, like, "Mom, I love her." More so than it's very cold and not calculated. That's not the right. It's very cold and distant from Jor-El, who's like, "Bros before hoes, my son." Like, this strumpet is not good enough for my son.
This trollop that you're faloodling.
Dude, she's up there on the balcony wearing his oversized Superman shirt and like no panties. She's got no chill. She's doing that right in front of the father as well. My God.
Who's like who's he's just looking, he's just side eye and just like, you bitch, this is you. You're doing this.
I think it makes more sense in the Lester cut as well that he gets rid of his powers first and then consummates his relationship with Lois rather
I
than
mean,
still
Superman
being.
Returns.
I mean, they don't call him the Man of Steel for nothing, but in the Donner cut, he's still Superman. So, I mean, I thought the reason that because I argued to you earlier, I said just because he's Superman and he has all these powers, why couldn't he still be in a relationship? Like, I guess it's the, well, you have a duty if you have all of these powers. So if you don't have the powers, then you don't have as much
Yeah, it's
responsibility. But
contradictory
you could
values.
still have the powers and not act on them. Oh, there's a big catastrophe happening in New York City. Help us, Superman. Yeah, no, I'm not going to. He still has the choice to not do anything, even if he has the powers. Well, then I thought, is it because he's like if he tries to dick Lois down, is he going to do some like lasting damage because he's the Man of Steel? So he's got to get rid of that
Is
side first. I thought it was like a Hulk thing, Hulk in
I
the
think you're
Edward.
overthinking that.
No, because in the Ed Norton Hulk movie, there's the moment where he's getting very intimate with Betty Brant. No, Betty Brant. That's what's the name? Betty Ross. Sorry, Betty Ross. And then his heart rate starts going up, and she says, maybe we shouldn't do this. And I thought, oh yeah, because he's gonna Hulk out and fucking murder and like destroy the neighborhood. And I thought, is this like a Superman thing as well? Like, I don't know.
So,
Does he
I
keep the
mean,
boots
Superman
on?
doesn't have the problem of hulking out. I think you're thinking more of a Hancock deleted scene where he's hooking up with a woman in his RV, and he's like, okay, listen, before we do this, something you need to know. Like when I finish, um, it's dangerous. He's like, oh, is it dangerous? No, no, no. It's not sexy. It's dangerous. And then literally, like it shows the outside of the RV. You hear it going on, and then the roof shoots off.
So overall, do you prefer? Well, of this scene anyway, do you prefer the cut with the mom, or do you prefer the cut with Marlon Brando, or do you think an edit can be made where both are utilized in some
Oh,
way?
I know an edit can be made. Fan edit by Bushman is doing that
Do you
with
have
both
one?
parents.
Do you have a preference overall between the cuts?
I mean, I like. I really like what okay, for him losing the powers, I prefer the Lester. For him getting them back, I prefer the Donner.
Yeah, I didn't know if it'd be more confusing if you have both in the movie together, especially
Yeah,
if it's more like the Act One,
that's
Act
what
Two.
Fan edit by Bushman is doing.
Yeah. The question is, does Lobot remain? I feel like Lobot might be on the cutting room floor.
He'll be back.
Uh, We'll find a way. We'll find a way. Yeah, so we've got the White House stuff. We've talked about all of that. We've talked about the extended stuff in. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about in Houston, which was very, very bizarre in the Leicester cut, and I even pointed it out. I was watching this with my folks, and I thought that's very strange. We're in Houston, and why does the little boy in the Leicester cut go? He has a very British accent, doesn't he? He goes like, "Mummy, who is this?" Or I can't remember what the line is, but it's yeah, it's not what you'd expect a kid from Houston to sound like.
I mean, you never, run into those little British Cockney orphan boys in Houston, Texas.
No, he was very posh British. He was like, "Mummy, mummy, who is this?" And then in the Donna cut, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's probably the normal voice of the kid." It's like, why did they change that? Was this in like a last ditch attempt to? Is it 40% of the film that you have to have directed or something to get a director credit?
In order to be to receive a director's credit, you have to have directed at least 40% of the footage.
And Lester did ask Donna if he wanted co-directing credit, and he was like, I don't co-direct. I get full credit. So he was like, no, take my fucking name off it.
I want director credit.
What's that that alias that directors go by when they don't want to have their name attached to a project? There's
depends on the director. John Smith?
no, it's I know that it's Lynch, isn't it, who did the Dune movie? There was an extended cut of Dune, like a TV edit, and he had like a different name for the director.
Yeah, hang on.
I'll see if I can find it. Dune extended TV cut director name. Alan Smithy. That's it. Alan Smithy.
Of course.
There are Alan Smithy's probably got the most credits out of any director in Hollywood. Let's see. Well, I guess the last big talking point then really is the bit where he gets his ass kicked by the trucker in the diner, and then probably Metropolis as well. Again, Lester Cut wins out on this one for reasons we've explained. Having that moment where he gets his revenge, which is needed for the movie. You want that payoff. You want to see that trucker get his comeuppance. But you want him to get... It is, but you want him to get that comeuppance in actual, consistent, and logical circumstances.
Where he deserves it. Yeah.
It's bizarre in the Donna cut because there are callback lines as well. Like, it's not just the action of him beating him. This bit where he's like, "I've been working out." Yeah, it's like, well, that... Why are you saying that?
I've been doing yoga with Lana Lane in Smallville. You'll find out.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
It's Pilates.
I'm going to blow your fucking mind right now. Although you're probably going to say, well, he's just frequented that diner quite a bit. He's reversed time to what we imagine sometime after the Superman in action montage in the first movie. So he's still at the Daily Planet. People know who Superman is, and he's been saving people. He turns time back to that point. He then goes to that diner at that point. That trucker still happens to be there?
He lives there.
Okay. I'm like, it's a little bit early in the timeline, I feel, for that. I actually don't know how many years are meant to have passed since Superman 1 and 2 when we are viewing them as two separate movies, if they say.
In the Donner cut, none. No time at all.
Yeah, it's straight into it. In the Lester cut, I can't remember how long they say it's been. Because we've got Lex in jail, and I'm not sure how long he's in there.
Yeah, but that's still on the newspaper. That was still on a recent enough newspaper that it's like still
Right.
out and about.
That's fair. And then we get the whole Metropolis fight. Now, this is really fun, and there is so much product placement in this final scene. What have we got? We've got Mothercare, we've got Marlboro cigarettes, we've got Coca-Cola, and there's probably some other things as well. But they are front and center. Now, I thought this
the on the bus, Aviat.
Yes, yeah. Now, I didn't remember there being this much product placement. I remembered the Coca-Cola sign because that moment's quite prominent, but I forgot the cigarette van and everything like that. I remember seeing Man of Steel for the first time, which was like, what, 2013? Thinking,
it felt very appropriate.
I have never seen this level of product placement in a movie before. It was like every scene. You had IHOP, and in every sentence it was like, oh, he works over there just by the IHOP. Ding, and like the price comes up. Or like,
and
oh yeah,
wasn't there like a Sears or something?
Something like that. There was Nikon camera as well, which actually made me laugh because I think that Jimmy Olsen in the first movie has a Nikon camera. And I was like, okay. I'm wondering now, like, Man of Steel has a lot of fucking problems, but I'm actually wondering if I'm going to go easier on some of those problems now because I've seen this shit in Superman 2. I don't know.
Maybe.
What else was there? There was, I think the IHOP was the main one because it was just constant and it worked into the
IHOP
plot.
Was
like
a big one. The gas station.
Yes.
I think it was Mobile.
Yeah. But yeah, the camera, it was just like, oh, we got to angle it. Let's get that brand name in. Let's get the camera pan past the brand name. It was fucking absurd.
Wolf Cola.
Oh, actually, no, I think the most blatant product placement I've ever seen in a movie. Did you see the 2017 Power Rangers movie where they tried to reboot it?
I didn't. I don't like Power Rangers.
It's insane. Krispy Kreme donut is an actual plot point at the end of that movie.
Hang on, did you see that clip from Hawaii 5-0 that I sent you?
No, I don't think so.
They straight up stopped. They stopped the show, and they're like, "Hey, man, you run a food truck, and you brought lunch to work." Says, "Oh, Subway's got these $5 footlongs, and they make them however you want. It's a good deal. I got the turkey club. I got the grilled chicken with banana peppers and jalapeno, and I got breakfast for tomorrow. This is awesome."
I don't mind a bit of it, but it's
real.
Yeah, Jesus. Anyway, Metropolis fight. This is where Lester goes full Lester in his cut. And yeah, watching it again, this was the stuff that irritated me the most. This is stuff that you would see in a Guy Hamilton Bond movie, and that's fine for that era of Bond. Bond goes through different eras, but this one, not to say that Superman the movie is devoid of humor. Of course, it's in there, as you mentioned. It's mostly to do with Lex Luthor and Otis and whatnot. This is a bit much. When you get to the point where you've got a guy in rollerblades in the middle of Metropolis being blown by a gust of wind down the street, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" I was like, "Oh, this is very silly."
He is in Donner Cut a little bit.
Oh, is it? Can you still see him?
just a little. He's not a whole guy. He doesn't have a whole bit. It's just a little like here's a guy on roller skates.
That bit in the Leicester cut where you've got the three villains sort of blowing the gust of wind down the street went on for ages. There were so many different like little set pieces and vignettes with the
Yeah,
characters, people in phone booths like blowing away, still on the line, and yeah,
he's
mercifully
still
the Donner cut.
talking.
Yeah, mercifully the Donner cut cuts all this down and keeps the intensity where it is. It's a bit more, as I mentioned like earlier, the tone's a lot more villainous. It's a lot more desperate. Whereas that you keep getting that tonal juxtaposition with the Leicester cut with all the silly slapsticky goofiness that's added in. So actually, I am going to give the point here to the Donner cut. He does have the added benefit, as I mentioned earlier, with some of the sound effects. There's more impact behind the punches. The bit where Superman goes underground and fights Well, I actually really like that scene. I think that's a really cool creative idea. And we know that he can do that when he flies into the San Andreas Fault in the first movie. It's just got a lot more impact behind it. So I think there's a comfortable medium between the two. I would like the Donner cut in this respect, but I'd quite like to retain the original sound effects. When I went to see, so they did a re-release of Batman 89. I think it was like to mark like the 4K release or something of it. And I went to see it at the theaters. And you're like this with Star Wars. You probably like this with a bunch of other films. When you've seen a film so many times, every cue of music, every sound effect, you can hear like a millisecond of it and you know exactly what scene it's from. They completely gutted all of the gun sound effects and added modern machine gun sound effects over it. And it killed the whole vibe and feel of the movie for me. You wanted to hear those classic like bangs of like the pistols going off and the ricochet of the bullets, like pew pew, like you're getting like an old spaghetti western or something. And now instead of that, pew pew, now you've got like you're playing Call of Duty or something. I was like, oh, this it doesn't match the aesthetic or the time of when the film was shot. And I kind of got that a little bit with the Donner cut. Some of the sound effects felt a little bit too modern movie making, which clashed with the overall look for me.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, no, that's it felt like you could tell they were trying to they were trying to get it to match the sort of aesthetic of the 70s effects, but they were doing it with like iMovie.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think if there's any other scenes of notable worth that got removed during this whole fight scene with So almost certainly people have done deeper dives into this to, do an exact millisecond comparison between the two cuts. I think the other thing we need to talk about then is the ending. We've already talked about the reversing time, how it makes no fucking sense, especially the fact that he destroys the Fortress of Solitude and then that gets immediately undone. The TV cut, though, I really like that they get arrested. I like that they're still alive and they just get their just desserts. What I am curious of, though, and I was actually expecting to see a scene a scene put back in with the Donner cut that wasn't in the Leicester cut, because it's a very abrupt cut for me. And it's where Lex is like, hey, just before we leave here, I just want to ask like one favor. We are in the North Pole. Cut. And then we're outside. And do we see Lex after that? There's a moment where he looks over his shoulder,
and he destroys the Fortress of Solitude.
There is that. So so in the Donner cut, he's about to destroy the Fortress of Solitude, and he sort of looks over his shoulder like Lex is behind him or something, like following in tow. But we never actually see him. So I'm wondering if he gets rearrested with the 3 Kryptonians at the end of the TV cut, and we just don't see that.
Gotta be that's where he would.
I'm just gonna have a quick read of that, see if that is actually where that scene is, because on Wikipedia there's a bullet point list of all the additional footage from it. Let's see.
Hey, I hate to do this. I'll be right back. I just gotta go splash some cold water in my face. I just got hit with a vertigo.
Yeah, that's cool, man. No worries. I'll hold the fort. Okay, so I'll guess I'll argue my case on this first, and then when JX comes back, he can talk about his impressions of the ending. Probably the most controversial scene in Superman 2, the scene that's often talked about the most, is the memory wipe kiss with when Clark Kent kisses Lois Lane, and she forgets everything that she's known about his true identity and that Clark Kent is actually Superman. I'm not keen on the memory wipe kiss. That is another one of the many powers that is just given to Superman in this movie. We've got the cellophane S, as we've talked about, and a whole bunch of other powers that Superman doesn't normally have in the comics. And yeah, the memory wipe kiss, it does take everything back to a status quo, but the Donner cut does that by him reversing time. When he reversed time, then Lois Lane forgets the true identity of Superman and everything is reset. And unfortunately, in the Donner cut, you remove, in my opinion, one of the best acted moments. It's actually one of my favorite superhero movie moments. The chemistry between Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve, we've talked about, is just absolutely palpable. And in this scene, it's such an emotional performance from both of the actors. And it's where Lois Lane is trying to come to terms with the fact that she knows who Superman is and she can't tell anyone. And she's got to live this lie, and she's having this crisis. She was up all night. She doesn't know how to act around him because she knows that she needs to keep this secret, but she just can't, and it's tearing her up inside. And the music in the Lester cut as well here is just it still gets me now when I watch it. It's a wonderfully acted performance, and it's scenes like this that a lot of superhero movies are lacking now. It's just the real heart and soul to everything. And you know the way that Margot Kidder, she's almost hyperventilating from her crying. It's such a real moment. And when she says, like, I'm going to be fine, you don't need to worry about me. And then Clark's, in his Superman voice, I like worrying about you. It's beautiful. It's one of the most emotional, between sort of your superhero and leading lady. It's one of the best scenes out of any superhero film I've ever seen. Now, this is cheapened by the kiss at the end. I know that kind of needs to be there, or some kind of status quo needs to be established again. We need to reset everything, because when we get to Superman 3 and Superman 4, although I haven't seen those movies, it is going with the idea is that she doesn't know who Superman is. So whether it's him reversing time in the Donner cut or him wiping her memory, you've got to have one of those. And weighing the options, and there are pros and cons to both of them, I am going to give the point here to the Lester cut, because we get one of the finest acting moments between these two actors portraying these characters out of both of the films. This is probably my favorite moment between Lois and Clark. And you just got to take the memory wipe kiss. It's the lesser of two evils, because I think the other one in the Donner cut, not only does it repeat the ending of the first one, I get that the reversing of time was meant to be exclusively the ending of Superman 2, but because that was moved to Superman 1, you almost can't watch the Donner cut as a sequel to the Superman, the movie that we got, because you're just repeating the ending. He just reverses time again, and we've already repeated that beat, and everything's all restored. And in doing so, you lose a great scene. So, yeah. And then it's bookended beautifully. Not bookended, sorry. It's finished off beautifully with the Lester cut, where there is a moment earlier where Zod storms the White House and we see the American flag just topple and collapse. So I guess it is bookended a little bit with this. And you have Superman flying that broken flag back to the White House and planting it on the roof. And the shot, the image of Superman stood next to the flag, is so iconic. And this is just in the Lester cut. This isn't in the Donner cut. It's a brilliant, brilliant moment. And, he says to the President of the United States that, I'll be looking out for you. I'll always be here. That's what Superman is all about. Now, I ain't even American. And God damn it, I get patriotic from watching this scene. And I feel like we need that more in films now. We need that sense of either, patriotism or heroicness, or the bit that makes you proud to be British, proud to be American, whatever. We need some of those heroic moments, and now I'm actually wondering if we are going to get any moments like that in James Gunn's Superman, or if it's all going to be a little bit more jaded now and a bit more nihilistic, which I really hope it isn't. It's such a great image, so iconic of Superman flying that flag. Absolutely love it. And then we get the nice little repeating of the ending of the first one, where Superman's flying in space and smiles into the camera as we cut to credits. It's such a fantastic ending. It just makes you, if you're a Superman fan, I defy anyone to have a problem with this scene. We'll see when JX gets back, because I've kind of voiced my opinion on the ending and how I think the Lester cut absolutely runs rings around the Donner cut. There are positives and negatives to both cuts, definitely. Oh yeah, another scene that's so much better in the Lester cut as well is where Superman calls Zod out to fight. In the Lester cut, you have a line that's repeated where Superman comes back and he's flying there, hovering outside the window with his arms folded, and he's like, "General, you care to step outside?" And it's great. And then in the Donner cut, that line isn't in there, and he flies up and he says, like, "So much for freedom of the press." I'm like, well, that line's just vastly inferior to the first one, isn't it? I don't understand why you went with that take. The other one was much better. So I think maybe there is a little bit of ego there with the Donner cut. Maybe it's like, well, no, I'm using all of my footage for better or worse. Even if Lester shot something that's objectively better, I'm not going to add it into my film because I want as much of my stuff is in there. And I suppose as a Superman fan, as a fan of different versions and different cuts of films, it's great that we do have both versions of these films that we can watch and, see this new footage, and it's, it being made available for people to see. That's great. But I think overall, if I was going to pick a cut to watch, I would be picking the Lester cut. JX, you're back. I need your thoughts on the ending, memory wipe kiss versus the ending that we get, the White House flag return, and your overall opinion on the cut.
Okay. Memory wipe kiss. Got to use that more often because that's really convenient.
Isn't that in Family Guy? Does he try and kiss Lex or kiss Zod? Oh, that's it.
Robot Chicken. He kisses Lex Luthor.
That's it.
He kisses Darkseid, Brainiac. I think Solomon Grundy.
Mm-hmm. It'd be Doomsday. No, it'd be Doomsday, wouldn't it?
Doomsday might have been in there. I know Solomon Grundy was in there for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
You might want to close your eyes. That's the song. It's a parody. So okay. That scene could work just fine if you remove the memory wipe of the kiss and just end it with the kiss.
And you'd have to end the Superman franchise there as well, because I was saying I haven't seen Superman 3 and 4, but both cuts reset the status quo, right? You either have the world turning back or you have the memory wipe kiss. So either way, at the end of each cut, Lois doesn't know who Clark is.
Honestly, watch 3, since she's barely in there, she could just know that he's Superman.
Oh, okay. And what about 4?
Oh no, God no. How do I don't want to spoil this, but they do a bit that really plays into that really plays into the fact that she does not know that Clark Kent is Superman, specifically because he wiped her memory with a kiss.
Oh, okay. But so which what do you prefer? Do you like the memory wipe kiss scene, like the scene itself?
The scene itself is great. The performances are fantastic. Like I said, you could just take that whole same fucking scene and have and just have it end with the kiss. Except then you don't get the orange juice bit payoff that you love so fucking much. In Okay. I respect what the Donner Cut is doing with excuse me, with the with the Earth reversal. And I should throw out there that he does not reverse the Earth in the summary of the beginning. So you could tell yourself, well, this is a version that just didn't have that in part one.
Mhm. Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, you have to. You can't. You almost can't view this as a sequel to the first movie. You've got to watch
Yeah,
this
not really.
as this is like what a work print essentially of what the original idea was going to be. It doesn't
More or
function as a
less, yeah.
sequel. I mentioned that maybe there's a bit of ego in there, in that it's, well, no, I'm going to use all of my footage for better or worse, irregardless of if Lester shot anything that was better. I
That's the
mentioned the
heart of the
line of,
project, isn't it?
I mentioned the line of where he says like, "General, care to step outside?" And then in the Donner cut, it's like, "So much for freedom of the press." So I was like, "Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's
you
just
ever heard of freedom of the
that's
press?
it."
Well,
I was like,
considering like an hour ago he thought the planet was called Houston, I'm gonna say no.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, well, that line is just objectively worse. Like, but it's probably, well, no, because I shot that. That was my version, and
It's
you know,
also like a direct callback to the scene he was just in with the
in the
trucker,
diner. Yeah, no,
where he
exactly.
keeps telling him, Do you want to step outside?"
Hmm. Yeah.
Like those words exactly.
I want you to talk
Uh,
about the main issue that you have with the White House scene at the very end.
okay.
I was
Okay, this
saving it for
pisses
you.
me the fuck off, actually. This pisses me off worse than like if I were just like wandering in the woods and I just found myself trapped in some sort of white squishy net of some kind. I don't know what it would be made of. But yeah, good idea. Um fucking okay. You get this great shot of him holding the flag. The flag is blowing in the air. And yeah, it's great. Great shot. Then he flies it to the top of the White House. He lands it there. He says, "Mr. President," and the camera and the door. They open the door, and he's framed really well in the door, but the door frame is completely cutting off the flag. And then it cuts to a close up where he's saying, "I won't let you down again. I promise." And it's framed again. It.
It's like this. Like this is the ceiling, and like
Exactly.
he's like
And the
holding the
flag is
flag, and it's
right
like the
there.
flag's
It's right
yeah.
behind the fucking ceiling. And it's like, why?
You want that wide shot, stars spangled banner billowing in the fucking
Remember
wind
the
right
end of
next to
Spider-Man
Superman.
1
Yes.
with the
What
big
we need.
CGI flag because of 9/11?
They also do that in Spider-Man 3 as well. When he gets back into action at the end, he runs in front of another American flag. Oh,
Yes, yes.
what I know, another Spider-Man comparison, or Spider-Man compared to this. I forgot that the people in Metropolis like take arms and rise up against the Kryptonians. It's like, you mess
Oh,
with
I
one of us,
love
you
that
mess with
scene.
all of us. Yeah.
Oh no! Oh, you know what? That's a better comparison because I was thinking of you. You want Spider-Man? You're gonna have to
You
go
gotta
through
go
me
through. And then
and me.
Anthony Hopkins steps in frame and goes, "And me." Dude, watch that scene again. Tell me that guy doesn't look like Anthony Hopkins.
God damn it! I have to check. Not now, but
No, after the stream. Right then, overall, like opinion, which cut gun to your head? Like Lois Lane has got a gun filled with blanks right at your head. Which cut do you go for?
oh no, I don't want to die like Brandon Lee.
Oh, oh
That's what
no!
happened. That's what
Oh,
happened.
it actually was a blank. That's the thing. It actually was a blank.
Yeah.
So she
Um.
could have killed Clark in that scene.
Honestly, yeah, yeah, kind of. But to answer your question, if I had to watch one, honestly, I think I enjoyed watching the Donner cut more. I'm not a I'm like I just I think it's just a genuinely Oh, but the fucking music is better in the theatrical.
Mhm. You've got all those little character moments that actually amount up as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Certain
No, that
payoffs
that
which
that.
make a lot more sense. General care to step outside. You've got the acting in the memory wipe kiss. I'm not keen on the kiss itself, but you got that too. But then you've got child murder in the Donnercut. You've got Zod with a
Oh,
machine
that's
gun.
fun. Oh, Zod with the machine gun though.
It's so great.
Oh, fuck. There really is like such a good version
hmm
between these.
I am not the person to edit this though. I would love to see like a made for me version of this film, but I think if I was faced with it, I'd be too indecisive. I'd be like, well, I like that Jor-El's here because that's more consistent. Oh, but I also like the mom stuff, and I wouldn't be
Well,
able to
no,
make
no, no, no.
decisions.
With that stuff specifically, I'd need to go with I'd probably steal the clip for Ben at Bush
hmm
because he's having both of them. He's
hmm
having Mom and the Crystal and Floaty Head Dad,
hmm
which is kind of weird. I'm gonna say it, Donner cut.
Okay, so you're Team Donica. I'm Team Leicester Cut all the way on this. There are a
To be
few.
honest, I'm not really gonna watch either, but you know,
Mhm. There are
I
a
if I had
few.
to watch one, probably Donner.
There are scant few moments in the Donica which I really do appreciate. As I mentioned, I'm going to sound like a fucking monster now. Like child murder and machine gun Zod are great, as I mentioned. Like those extended moments there are great. I like overall the more tonal consistency of the Metropolis fight and other moments with Zod. He definitely feels a lot more sinister and a lot more vicious in the Donica, with still some
The,
silly
the
moments in there
delivery,
sprinkled.
the delivery of why do you say these things when you know I will kill you for it is better in the lesser cut.
Why does he
God, that's
sound
such
like
a good fucking line.
Why does he sound like
Do you
Richmond
have
from
any
the IT
absinthe?
crowd? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I only drink absinthe. I'm so, white wine, red
We've,
wine,
we've got
Carlsberg.
Carlsberg.
Oh,
Oh,
Carlsberg,
Carlsberg.
perfect.
Perfect. I love his line as well. Like, he cares. He actually cares for these people. Like pets. Yes, I suppose so.
A new wind is blowing.
Yeah, I'm giving the point to Leicester
Oh,
Cut on this. I think overall,
look, Richmond's alive. There we go.
it does have very slapsticky moments in there which do take me out of the movie a little bit. But overall, I think all of the little character beats and little setups and payoffs, it's very much like a Whedon cut version of the Snyder cut. Sorry, the Whedon cut version of Justice League. There's the little character moments that are added in. It's still a shit movie, but there's little things sprinkled in that make more sense than the actual Snyder Cut version, and it's half the length as well, probably more than half the length. This is a similar situation to that. I'd much rather watch the theatrical, warts and all. A perfect cut does exist somewhere in the happy medium between both of these cuts. I know that people have attempted it before. I know, as you mentioned, people are still attempting it now. I'd be very curious to see one of these and see which version of Superman 2 will be my definitive version of Superman 2. But as we're talking about actual officially released versions, I'm going to give it to the theatrical version on this for me. Unfortunately, I don't have the DVD yet to hold up Superman 3, but that is the one that we are talking about next week. In tow with that, we will be posting a poll on my community page because we're trying to decide on what trajectory to go with this Superman retrospective. It's so check for that in a couple of days or so because we will need to know after Superman 3, essentially, which direction we go with this thing. But they are on
Yeah.
order. So, as I mentioned, I've got Superman 3, Superman 4, and Supergirl on DVD. They are on their way, and I should have those hopefully in the few days because I will need to get this watched. I have never seen Superman 3, Supergirl, or Superman 4. Haven't seen any of those, so that will be a first time watch for me. And it will be nice to finally cross those films that have been towards the top of my to watch list for many years. I've avoided them. in a similar way to if I was coming to the Batman franchise, hearing that Batman and Batman Returns are really good, and then Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are really shit, and refusing to watch those. But there are elements of those films that I love. So it'll be nice to see if there's anything that I can take away from Superman 3 and Superman 4 that I still like. We'll see.
Maybe. I've seen them.
And Superman 4, a lot of it was shot in Milton Keynes, which isn't that far from me. Like a couple of like an hour on the train away from me.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. They moved the Daily Planet to what I think was the shopping center there. Anyway, let us know your thoughts on Superman 2. Which cut do you prefer? Any favorite moments from this? Let us know. We're still going to be coming at you live with more Superman videos pretty much until the new movie comes out. So if you're into your Superman films, stay locked here. Do consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. I'll be going live once again tomorrow. I'll be going live with Dale to get his Disney Classics tier list. So I did mine last week, and we're getting his tomorrow. And then we're moving into a pretty big animation retrospective, which I'm going to announce on tomorrow's stream. I don't want to give anything away right now, but it's a big one, and it's coming up to a certain anniversary of that company. So I'm very much looking forward to reviewing those films. JX, thank you for joining me tonight. 2 hours again of your time. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you? What are you working on?
YouTube.com/JXEDITOR. I recently released an edit of the Clone Wars as a movie that isn't the Clone Wars movie. It's just a simple fit between Star Wars episodes 2 and 3. I got some other stuff I'm working on, but nothing I'm ready to announce yet. Yeah, looking forward to this. Looking forward to you finally seeing Superman 3 and 4.
It's been a long time coming. I like that you haven't divulged any information about it. I'm going pretty much in completely cold.
No.
As cold as I can. Anyway, we'll be back next Sunday for some Superman 3. Until then, take care, everyone.